Okay, how you doing?
I am well. How are you?
Good. You have no idea how long this moment, like we've been preparing for this moment, right?
Oh my God, I love it because we met in such an organic way and I felt such a connection with you. So
Yes.
it is so awesome to be here and have a conversation, a
Yeah.
continuation of what we've talked about before.
Yes, yes. I want to just put a pause right here and say welcome to you. Um, Welcome to all of our guests. Thank you for tuning into another conversation in the nick of time. I am your host, Nikki Roach, and want to send a huge hello and shout out to Sparkman Pathway to Career and also KSTO 690 AM right here located and headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri. And we are just actually delighted to have them as our power sources and our sponsors for this platform. I am just so delighted to have our guest, Cillah Hall, with us today. OMG, you are in for a treat. Those who are new to the platform, this is Conversations in the Nick of Time, where we explore and expose leadership excellence and leadership accidents. And this is just a virtual global classroom where amazing people come on to just share their journey and some of those accidents and excellence that have kept them grounded and that's launching them forward. And today we happen to have one of I'm going to claim her as a St. Louis jewel. I know we share her across the several countries. However, Cillah Hall, she is publisher and lifestyle editor. And Cillah Hall, she is known and has the reputation of taking risk and testing or erasing limits. True disruptor. And she is the force behind the luxury publication Gazelle Magazine and the new STLCountyNews.com. She has an innate passion for writing and journalism and a desire to empower others. And before moving to the US at the age of 19, with nothing but a suitcase and $136. She was the first runner-up in the Miss Universe Zambia Pageant. And prior to launching Gazelle Media, she was a news producer at KSDK TV, which we have something in common there, the St. Louis NBC affiliate. She has owned her own PR firm, Xanadu. Did I say
Yeah.
that right?
Yes,
Okay,
Xanadu.
Xanadu. And then she is the host of her own podcast, Just Celia, My Imperfectly Imperfect Immigrant Life, which is very raw, transparent, and just full of nuggets of wisdom. I could go on and on and on. She's a graduate. She was a cum laude at the top of her class. And I could go on and on, but I want to stop there and just say welcome and thank you for making time for us for today.
Oh my God, it is my pleasure. Thank you for having me. If I was going to be anywhere, it's with you.
No, no,
You are amazing.
no, you are amazing. All the stuff that you're doing. When I talk about leadership excellence and accidents, I mean, if anyone paged through your website or your podcast, truly you share so transparently your journey. And where does that come from? Like, I mean, the willingness that you have, and while a lot of us may lean back from being so vulnerable, I mean, you just you come with no boots, no nothing, no gear, you just show up in it.
You know, I made a decision. It was probably around the time I was becoming an entrepreneur. And, you know, I have to tell you, when I worked in the news business or even anything else before that, I wanted to conform to what I thought people wanted me to be. So I tended to be more formal. I tended to hold back my feelings, which I think stood in the way of my own advancement. Until I got to a point where I felt like I wasn't reaching my fullest potential in those spaces. Okay. And at some point I realized, you know, if I'm going to grow a business, I really have to be myself. I'm not a person who wants to wear pantsuits. I want to wear dresses. I want to wear swimsuits in Miami. I want to sit across from really powerful people and be all those things because that's who I feel that I am on the inside. Uh-huh. Just multidimensional. So being able to authentically tap into who I really am. It's been a process.
Okay. And so you have, I mean, you say it's a process, but I'm telling you
Yes.
from the outside looking in, it's like you will navigate a room and like you float through a room when you show up.
Oh my
And, it,
God.
and it's so it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So that level of confidence, how do you nurture that though? Because you're always taking a risk. You're like we're hearing and all that you're doing, you're still always developing new. You're always having to be ahead of the curve.
Right. I think I naturally, we all have our God-given talents,
Okay.
and mine is creativity. I have to work harder with everything else, including how to work a room. It's one of those things that I realize, and you hear this when you talk about networking events. You walk into a room, every single person there probably feels a little uncomfortable about being there. They're trying to find somebody they can connect with. So I always walk into a room feeling like, okay, so everybody here, they feel the way I do, which is just a little bit uncomfortable about being there, especially when you're in a room where you have to pull up the chair yourself, you pull up your own seat. Well, you do pull up the seat to be in the room, and then what are you going to do when you're there? So I'm always affirming, excuse me, it's so cold out here. I'm always affirming to myself that I belong in the room. And that makes me just overcome my fear, because I am in rooms that sometimes I wonder how I ended up there. And it's just a complex that, women and minority women and just, a lot of people have of feeling like, do I really belong in this room? So it's a constant reaffirmation to myself that, yes, I have worked really hard to be in this room, and I need to be in here, and I need to be respected in all the creativeness and the value that I've brought into my community. And I'm going to hold my head up. And that's just how I walk into a room. Sometimes you have to give yourself a pep talk before you walk into certain rooms. Like, yeah, girl,
Sometimes,
you're supposed to be in that room.
Sometimes. But what's so interesting though is that, again, outside looking in, it's like you've been at this. You have been, I mean, setting the pathway for generations to come, but also those of us who are walking beside you or behind you, to where it's like you are carving it out, and you still have those pep talks, huh?
I do, yes. And, I just have a way of gravitating towards like-minded people when I do get into that room. You get an energy. Some people are approachable. I remember when I first met you, by sheer coincidence, and then we stood in a room and talked for an hour. Our very first meeting, never met. So I really feel like my growth has been a process of connecting with the right energy that fit my spirit. People who understand me, because you can be misjudged for being vulnerable and putting yourself out there. There's a way that people can create perceptions of who you are, and really focus on that one part of you, when we all know that we are so many different dimensions, right, and always in a process of growth. I want to connect, and I feel that for the most part, I connect with people who are like me, because then what I'm saying and what I'm doing is an alignment, and they're able to propel me even further, and I the same for them. So you're not going to be for everybody. I'm definitely not for everybody, but for those who attract my energy, we really just create some amazing things together.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, the platform is about leadership excellence and accidents. And when we think about this accidents, having found yourself in this space now, I mean, you've got the media company, you have the PR, which to me is still in existence and very, very, very present and very much a tool in all the stuff that you do. You being a speaker, you being a podcast host, the luxury brand, that is evolving. And I see that just taking legs of its own and just morphing into something else. But then there's also you and the brand, you being the brand that is morphing the more. What has been something that's been a hard lesson for you to get over or to learn, having juggling all these different platforms?
It's a couple of things. Just because you do it well doesn't mean it will make you money. So at some point,
Ah,
you have to figure out that line of, should I keep this process moving with this particular venture? Do I need to pause? What do I need to do to make sure that what I'm creating is also taking care of my basic needs, which are to eat, pay your mortgage, the activities of daily living. When you're a creative and you're passionate, it becomes all about the work and you can forget the financial aspect of it. I have had to learn as a true creative how to leverage the financial end of my enterprises, because it's not all about talent. There are a lot of talented people. Somebody who's building a house, the builder who gets hired to put a brick on a house, that's a very talented person. Right. But how much do they earn? Do they have the same opportunities? So talent is abundant. It's the strategies and the opportunities to be able to see opportunities for growth, opportunities for connections. I used to work so hard, but I wasn't in the right rooms with the right people who could help me take that talent and spread it on a whole wider level. Okay. So, you can work 12, 15 hours a day, but if you're working and the wrong people are seeing your work, you're not going to get anywhere far. So it's a matter of strategy. I know that the talent is there. Where do I find the opportunity? How do I close that gap? They always say preparation. I think it was Oprah who said preparation meets opportunity. You have to be ready for that moment. Yeah. Well, I've done a lot of prep work. It took a longer time to understand that opportunity means that I have to put myself in places I may not necessarily be comfortable. Okay. I find myself being the only, and I know this is a global platform, and I'll tell you that this is a new thing that I've experienced as a Zambian immigrant, to be able to learn that my skin color in other parts of the world is a hindrance. So my talent can get overshadowed by those kinds of challenges. Luckily for me, I think I have, I've been blessed to be able to walk in a room and be the only Black person. And most times I'm the only Black person in a room, and still be able to navigate, because I always remind myself about the global mindset that was created really by my father. When I was younger, we traveled, we experienced, we lived in different countries. And that was before our life TWA'd, so to speak, where my father was an executive in the airline one day and the next day he had nothing. Okay. But I had that foundation of seeing what was possible. I was able to see past my immediate situation to know that I know where I've been before, even if it was part of my childhood. I know that place of culture, success, the arts, philanthropy, opportunity. It's there. I just have to put myself there now. And sometimes it's just not knowing how far you can possibly go that hinders you. So I just always find those rooms, and I've been blessed to have people of all cultures, all colors, advocate for me, be my champions. And as I'm getting older, I am learning to be a champion for those who are coming behind me as well. So you can't get anywhere alone. Even just the boost of confidence, sometimes there's that one person who reminds you of your worth, just lights your fire enough to get you over your immediate insecurity.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the truth of having opportunities that present themselves, but however you can land in the room, however you're the only one in the room.
Right.
And you mentioned skin color, but I'm sure it's also gender at times. How do you navigate that?
You're literally a double minority. You're a woman, and then you're a person of color. And I've learned some of my biggest blessings in my life have come from the most unexpected people.
Okay.
So what I've learned to do is not judge when I walk into a room. I'm not going to judge who those people are, what they believe in, because then it becomes a block for me to be able to make a connection with them. Okay. And so I walk in and I just think, okay, that person is like me. And maybe they too are looking for a connection. I'm not going to let what I perceive might be a block, which is my color, get in the way. Because sometimes it's you who has the boundary that, the wall that doesn't allow people to come in.
That is really true.
Yeah. So if I do my part and let my wall down to be able to make that relationship connection, I end up having these amazing conversations that turn into an invitation to something, or, you get to be your authentic self. So it's been a lot of that. Just put my wall down and stand. I won't let anybody disrespect me. If I've walked into rooms and somebody's like, how you all doing? Yeah, I just heard you speaking proper English. Why did you feel like you had to say that, use that language with me because you're saying hi to me because I'm standing with another Black person? So in many of those places, which I do most of the time, I get into my formalness, which is, hello, very nice to meet you. I hope you're well. And I just changed my, let's talk to me the way you would talk to a counterpart in any room. Yeah. So you're talking to me based on feeling uncomfortable. My apologies. Oh God. Are we still there? But yeah, it's just constantly demanding respect, but respectfully. So, it's just understanding who you are as a person. It has been a long journey, understanding who I am as a human being outside of the experiences that have been created based on family situations, race issues, maybe being bullied, all these other things that stood in the way of me really understanding who I really am. Who am I outside of the childhood that was created for me? Outside of those experiences, who am I really? Yes. So once I kind of took the time to know who I really am, I am really comfortable in it. But it took a long time to get here, a lot of self-doubt. And so I think what you're seeing is somebody who, in spite of any success, really understands who she is as a person.
Yeah. And that is so interesting because who are you? Because right. you've come from another country. You landed here, and I can't fill in your blank, but it's like, why, how did you end up in St. Louis?
Yeah. So I would say that a lot of my life experiences have been serendipity. Okay. When everything was happening with my father and just our circumstances changing financially and going through a struggle that was unexpected, I always knew that I wanted to be somebody. Okay. And so I've always known that. And, I knew that I was going to be somebody. I didn't know what yet. I'm not even sure that somebody has fully been actualized, but you just know inside of you. So, an example is when I competed in the Miss Zambia Universe pageant. I was at home in Zambia, and a friend of mine dropped by and said, they are auditioning for Miss Zambia, and I think you should go. And I'm thinking, I'd never modeled. It wasn't my thing. I was the awkward high schooler, taller than everybody. Just unsure of what, it just wasn't anything I would do. But this person saw something in me and literally dragged me. You're going to audition. I went and auditioned on the fly. And I made it to the first, through the first auditions. And then during the process of that really heavy weekend, I got eliminated as the 13th contestant. They wanted 12 and I was number 13. And this is 1995. And so it turns out that one of the 12 girls that was selected had a child. And at that time, to be in Miss Universe, you couldn't be a mother. Okay. So she got dropped out by sheer rules of the times. And so they needed the 13th person to step in. That's how I ended up.
Oh my God.
Right. I'd moved on. I was like, oh, I didn't make it. That was interesting. I'm moving on. And then this happened and I get a call and here I am back in it. Spent a lot of time training because now I had time. And I went through the whole process and I ended up being the first runner up in this thing that was so unplanned and just by sheer accident. And then about 3 months after that, I just felt like, oh my gosh, I know I'm supposed to be more. I'm supposed to be more. And my family was not doing well at all financially.
Okay.
And literally all I had, I was still waiting for my winnings. I've never received all of them. I was like, I'm out. I had very little money. I had an air ticket and I had $136 and I had a destination. So I wasn't coming and just landing. I had a friend who I was going to go to in Columbia, Missouri. And when I told my mother my whole plan for migrating to the US, because I really wanted to come to the United States, I was going to New York. It was no. But once I convinced her after months of, this was a combination of months where it's like, okay, now I have to leave. I've done Miss Zambia. I've shown you that I can do stuff. Let me go. It was hard for my mother.
Yeah.
I took, basically I landed in New York and I took the Greyhound from New York to Columbia, Missouri.
Oh my God.
With my money that I had left in my shoes, because when you watch TV, America is dangerous. All these stereotypes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I was 19. I just turned 19. And that's how my life started in the United States. I ended up meeting my husband, who was from St. Louis, and we were married for 12 years. We had 2 children together. We are now divorced. As a result of different dreams and goals, I'm sure if you're divorced, you can relate to getting married young and evolving into different spaces.
I'm part of the club.
Yes, so we moved to St. Louis to be near his family, his mother. And we had our 2 children here. And I went to the university. I graduated from the University of Missouri. My first job was at KSDK as a production assistant. I left. I came back several years later as a seasoned producer. So I was producing the morning newscast at the NBC affiliate here. And then as I was going through my divorce, I had a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. And if you've ever gone through a divorce, nobody's trying to help anybody for a while. It's just tough. And I needed to figure out how to find myself again. I'd lost myself. So part of me going into entrepreneurship was really walking into my boss's office, doing what I could to advocate and get switched from an overnight schedule, because I was producing the early morning newscast, to something that worked for me with my children. That wasn't going to happen. So it was the final ask and I quit that day. I walked in, I literally just walked in to ask again for a schedule change. And something just told me as I was sitting across from my boss, who was male. And
I know, so it's funny, I worked at KSDK.
You did.
I did like 5 years. And what's crazy, it was even there that, I was going through a divorce even there. And that's when I realized, like, oh, you know what do I want to do with my life? Because I was doing special projects in the newsroom, and with the and there were, I don't want to call names, but there were a number of people who were there, and it was just a big deal to be at the news station. And I left, packed my stuff, and moved to New York.
Oh my God.
So I understand. I totally understand.
That's basically what happened. I mean, you just know, it inside of you.
You can't even explain it.
You can't explain it. And I think most people are too afraid because you're wanting that paycheck and you're scared of going for it. But I'll tell you that I was exhausted enough to want to go for it.
And as they say, it's a risk either way. You're going to risk missing out on your dreams, or you're going to risk getting something you've never had.
Indeed. And sometimes you don't know what that thing is. You just know that it's something. And, some of the most amazing people that I've worked with, even after that, were people I worked with at KSDK, even connecting even bigger, in a bigger way with my former bosses. So I was really in my early 30s when all this was happening. And I've developed so much as a human being. And what I realized after living there is I never really told my leaders what I wanted to be. So I was standing in the way of my own growth because they didn't know who I wanted to be. And then to top it off, I was wearing clothes that didn't even feel comfortable because how I wanted to dress in colorful things, just my hair and makeup, I was holding myself back. So even my personality, people are trying to figure out who I was. The intention between me doing the podcast that you just mentioned and being vulnerable and opening up myself even further is a result of understanding that just because I know who I am at the core doesn't mean everybody else does.
Yes.
And yes, I go to galas and you see me in ball gowns and you see me traveling, but do you feel like you don't really know me? And there are a couple of people who asked me, and you asked me, who are you? So I thought, because I want our brands to be able to connect on a human level, in order to do that, as well as tell the vulnerable stories of other people and women, I had to put myself out there a little more.
Wow. You don't hear that often.
Yeah. So it starts with you. You cannot ask people to do things you're not willing to do. And so it started a process of me just being vocal. I mean, I have my own child abuse story. I have my own Me Too story. I've had in the midst of all this, there are other life things that I've had to overcome, that women have to overcome, that are not, as I was saying earlier, these are not who you are. These are things given to you by other people.
Right.
So I had to give those feelings back to the people who gave them to me.
Wow.
And that was
powerful. So powerful.
Yeah, because I was holding on to the burdens of all these experiences that had happened to me. And the people who had done these things to me, they had moved on with their lives. I had to give it back. You know what? I've carried it long enough. I am now giving this burden of being violated as a child back to you, the violator. It wasn't my fault. You violated me. So here's the burden. And that burden, the way I did that was a partnership I actually had with a university here. We did a film at Webster University. It was a Me Too story.
Yes.
It was part of me giving back that burden of guilt that other people had put on my shoulders. Okay. And it led to me closing up as a person. Because, I psychologically, as a child, you realize I'm closing up because if I'm myself, this is what it attracts. And I don't want those things. Okay. So all this is a journey. And the reason I'm sharing this is it's all your growth towards being a leader and being your true self. Yeah. I believe in Super Soul Sunday. I watch Iyanla, I watch Oprah, I watch all those interviews in my self-actualization. I watched Brené Brown's feature on vulnerability. Yeah. And that was also part of my process. So you can't really be a great leader carrying all that baggage. I mean, you're going to react to people strongly and they don't even understand why. It has nothing to do with them. It's your pain that you're carrying around and you're taking into your leadership. And you're reacting to things. If a male talks to you a certain way in leadership, you have such a viral, a visceral reaction. And maybe the person is just wanting to get, in a business sense. But because you have that burden that you've been carrying all these years, you have your guard. What does he want? You just close down. So all that has to go away. and forgive yourself. It was nothing to do with you for carrying all that with you, so that you can be the leader that you want to be and grow in business and all these other aspects that are so exciting that are waiting for you once you're ready for it. That's basically what happened in my life.
You just shared so many nuggets regarding life, and how powerful is that, to understand things have happened, but it's not who we are. There are also things that have happened to us, but not who we are. And we have to understand we can give it back.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, that is wow. Absolutely wow. Because do you know how I understand? You're right. And I always say this saying all the time as leaders, and leaders, we use that loosely defined because we are all called to lead, and we can lead from where we are. It's not about a title, but you can't give what you don't have. And we have a lot of people who are trying to lead, even in a titled position, who have not taken the time to do this strategy. And I love how you've taken us all the way back and given us this full wraparound journey to where it's like, okay, here it is. Yes, I ended up in a space, but I realized I needed to get out of the space.
Right.
And then I did the work. There's work to this. And you've shared, just a nutshell of some of that work that you had to make the decision that, okay,
yes.
No.
I didn't like how I felt.
Okay.
I wanted to be fully happy. That's one thing I can control. How am I going to do that? And that's not to say I still don't have challenges. Right. I have a 20-year-old and a 16-year-old, and your children are great reminders and humble you really quickly when you think you're great. So all these things happened. I still have all these life things. Family issues we have to work out. Business issues that we have to navigate, like now during COVID. All those things are there. Yeah. But I can do them comfortably because I also believe that what is meant for me will be. And I have really been open to pivoting, even if temporarily, and this is something that I'm seeing during COVID with so many businesses, including mine, where you're trying to force, the world is shut down. Yes, we are finally now at a point where we are beginning to function. Yes. But a lot of our businesses, including mine, depend on most businesses operating at capacity. So no matter how much work you put into, sometimes there's just that one thing that is out of your control. Yes. So what are you going to do in that space? So we're going through a place of just understanding that sometimes you don't have to run. We are literally cruising through COVID. Let's not go out of business, but let's not act like we are going to grow during this process, because our business in particular depends on everybody else being open. Yeah. So let's not be overly ambitious and watch our finances more carefully and survive COVID. Then start pushing really hard, because people are not paying for advertising. They want to feed their employees, or they have PPP loans, or whatever the case may be. This is just not a robust time for most businesses. And being comfortable in that, and getting to a place of, this is a no growth space. This is a let's pause, let's evaluate, let's figure out how we can support those through our journalism. Okay. Those businesses, those people, let's tell their stories. This is an opportunity to tell other people's stories. Just reinvent and take a pause. So it feels like we're in a place of, because as a creative, you just want to run and create and talk to people and go to events. I mean, I was at an event every few days. nothing's been happening.
For
So,
almost
yeah,
for a year. For a year.
for a year.
For a while we were like, oh, it's just a couple weeks, oh, a couple months. We'll be back at it. Okay, this summer. And then it's like now it's like, oh my God, it's been a year. And I think I love how you're, talking and sharing like the power of the pivot. That's another, another language or saying that we use on this platform quite often. And understanding that there are times when you have to know that, but as a leader, you have to know when to lean into that and sometimes when to lean away. What would you say has been the biggest lesson you've learned outside of understanding this is not the time necessarily for growth, but it is time to sustain? But what has been one of the biggest lessons during this time for your
I
company?
think one of the biggest lessons, and it came early in the year when we had to make a decision to pause our print publication.
Okay.
And, you're dealing with a time when our main source of distribution are grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at a time when people are saying, don't touch each other, don't even be 6 feet near each other. And we produce a product that people are touching many times as they are walking out of the store. That's one thing. And number two, you're also dealing with Instacart. The world is changing, it's evolving.
Yeah.
So if I decide as a business, because it's thousands of dollars to print every publication, and a lot of our pages are also society events, galas, we cover the biggest galas, all of that is on a pause. Am I going to print a magazine just for my ego? What am I going to put in it? And so you have to get beyond what are people going to think if I make this business decision? And at the end of the day, I just thought, I'm the one who pays these bills. I have to take my ego out of this situation and make the best business decision. Because if I continue on this path, because all those galas and parties, those advertising partners who pay packages to be in the magazine, they are not doing that because their events are, they're in limbo or they are virtual, and it's just changed. So I'm going to put my own ego aside of what are people going to think, and I'm going to focus on our digital platform until I, as a business leader, not I as a personality with a brand to protect, what I feel is the best thing to do in this time of COVID and recovery. So those are hard decisions you have to make because you just want to keep going at the same pace. But then there are other platforms that don't require as much resources. We can tell stories on a digital space all day, every day, without the cost of printing, distribution. All those are people that have to be compensated, who are also being put at risk because of where they have to go to do the job, to put a magazine out that is not at its optimum because its core business is shut down, because other businesses are not holding the events, or they are not operating, or they are closed. They're doing curbside. I mean, it's just been an awakening for everybody. Yeah. So I'm very comfortable in understanding that this is not a unique situation for me. This is survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
And so to be fit, you have to make choices.
Yeah.
And these are the choices we are making, and then deciding when we will reprint, what is the right time, and start preparing for that instead of being stuck on trying to stay on the same path.
Wonderful. And I love how you go there. You said, look, do I want to feed my ego about this, regarding this situation and the business, or do I want to sustain it,
Right.
and live past this pandemic? And that is so brave of you. I applaud you for that. And even just that lesson that you're sharing with us, to understand that you can't maintain things at status quo or how it has been, because we're not in that space anymore. But as we move forward, you have to make real decisions if you're going to be around. So thank you for that. As we shift to, now that you've walked us into the business side of Cillah, What is it about Gazelle Media or Gazelle Magazine? You can, it's all under the same umbrella.
Right.
What are you most proud of?
Oh my God. First, I love my team. They are real people. They are amazing. We have such a great connection. I am most proud of the fact that I live in a city that is very much entrenched in tradition.
Okay.
And I created something new, and it has lasted this long. People here want to do business with people they've known for a very long time. And we are seeing it nationally. It's the whole institution of, well, this is the way things are. So you're coming to disturb the equilibrium, and it makes us uncomfortable. And on top of that, who are you? You just came from a whole different country. We don't know you enough to trust us with a $500,000 to trust you with a $500 investment, $500,000 investment in your business.
Yeah.
To be able to create something here in my community that has transcended, because we at Fashion Week, we get invitations to Paris Fashion Week, we feature brands from across the globe. To be able to get to that space, I had to ignore the past of what this city, this country is, and be progressive in my thinking, not be pulled back for fear of, I don't want to say retaliation. Retaliation comes in many forms, including economic. They just don't invest in your business until you go out of business. So it's always finding ways to work around that.
Okay.
I am most proud that we created it, and it's for everyone.
Yeah.
It's inspirational for the aspirational.
Yes.
Because within the pages and the website and the events and other things we create, we want somebody to be able to say, I want to be that, and not feel unattainable. I want to be able, well, if I can do it, you can do it, because the way this came together, I'm sure you can do it. Not, being able to inspire other people to not fear, because creating anything is a risk.
Yes, and yeah, it is a risk. And I recently wrapped up Seth Godin's book called The Practice. And in The Practice, he talks about how many of us will deal with, well, we've heard about imposter syndrome, which is where, we feel like we don't deserve it. We don't believe we're really as gifted or talented as we really are. And will be found out as a fraud, something along those lines when we talk about imposter syndrome. However, he says about how we have to move past that to begin to practice, meaning put ourselves in the way of doing what we've been called to do and ship it out. Ship it out, meaning give it away. You're not creating something to hold for yourself, but you're to give it out. But a lot of times we fail, we may create, but we don't ship it out because of the reaction and responses that we may get.
Oh my God.
However, this is, and I'm saying this because you reminded me of that, and how it is not up to, like you said earlier, I'm not for everyone and everyone's not for me. That's okay. But that alone takes some maturity to wrap your mind around. Like, that's the reality. And knowing that you can begin to ship those things out and practice over and over again, because I'm sure, oh my gosh, like your magazine, it is high quality. It is truly created and crafted in excellence.
Thank you.
However, you as the publisher and the brain and body behind this, I'm sure you're up many nights questioning some things that you produce.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And in particular, I had somebody tell me, well, this is where I made a shift, because you have to be able to shift many times along the way. Somebody told me that they felt that they couldn't afford the clothes that were in the magazine. They didn't feel like the life that were in the pages was reflective of where they were. And that's where we changed our philosophy from luxury and all these words to we are inspirational for the aspirational.
Okay, interesting.
And yes, and it's really for the space of the whole imposter syndrome. Okay, so I came from nothing. I worked really hard. I am now succeeding in my life. I want to go to that gala, but no, it's not for me. So through the pages, I want to continue to be able to say, what do you mean it's not for you, girl? Go get a dress. We're going. You know what I mean? Come have fun. It's not that. Get over it. Yes, you belong in this room.
I love it because even in your approach to things, it's kind of like, oh, I know I'm gonna get in. I know I'm gonna be there. And it's just a mindset. It's a mindset.
Yeah, it's a mindset. They paid $150. You worked all this time. You're now a mid-level or high-level executive. You can afford $150 too. So the only thing standing between you and going is mental, because everybody's getting the same $150 ticket. Get your dress, go have some fun, be in a space where you may be the only one. You deserve to be there because you purchased your ticket to support that organization. You care about it enough to, you getting that ticket supports maybe a young mother, supports, think about where the money is going, then get over your fear. Were you a recipient of help along the way? For example, the Women's Foundation here in our area, they help women who are going through economic hardships. That was you. When you got help, where did you think the money was coming from? It came from these galas. So it's your turn. Get over your fear. Yes, you do belong, and pay it forward. Exactly. Yeah. If you have to give yourself those kinds of talks to make it make sense, because it's only in those rooms that you will get your next job, where you will get your bigger success. And for some, success is money. For me, it's not. For me, success is self-actualization. I want to feel like I'm doing the very best that I can, and I'm leaving this earth having done all that I could do to use my time, my life, purposefully. So whatever that success is, you're only going to elevate to that if you get over it and put yourself in new spaces.
Right. Why success in St. Louis, though? Why haven't you left?
That is the big question. You are literally in. I messaged my best friend this morning, and I'm like, why am I still here?
I was just curious.
There's a saying that home is where the heart is. Mm-hmm. And it has crossed my mind very much that I could move to LA, New York. I could move anywhere in the world. I don't think it's my time yet, because right now in this process, my time is to make sure my 16-year-old becomes an adult and flies as well. Yes. One of my children is in college and I have a 16-year-old. As a single parent, I've been on such the career trail that you end up neglecting your children without even realizing it. Okay. So your kids end up dealing with the brand, not the mom. Wow. So I am rediscovering who I am as a mother for my children, so that when they look at me, they are not thinking this person or I just want to be mom for a while. They need my nurturing. Okay. And I'm willing to give it another 5 years before I have the rest of my life. So this is a good space. I like my home, and St. Louis is affordable. I can fly and go anywhere I want.
High five.
Yeah.
I totally get that. So you have Gazelle Magazine. People can go online. You have St. Louis County News, which is covering all areas of St. Louis. Absolutely amazing. Yes, I totally forgot about the fashion week that you were responsible for bringing to St. Louis, which I did get a chance to attend. Absolutely amazing. I'm a junkie for fashion. So you have all of these different things going on. What's keeping you up at night?
to be in love again. This is great, but my God, to be able to share it with somebody who gets you in your growth, because, sometimes you outgrow your relationships because they are not willing to see you. It's uncomfortable. It's with friends as well, where you get to a certain level and it starts being uncomfortable. Your friends might feel like they've changed, but you've changed, but they've changed because they don't know how to react to the new you anymore.
That's growing and evolving.
You're growing and evolving, and it's the same thing in personal relationships. I'm looking for a partner that will accept me in my greatness and not feel insecure with it. Because maybe when I met that person, that level of growth was comfortable for them, but I'm here. I'm a human being. I keep growing. So I am just putting it out there into the universe to meet somebody who can handle the greatness that will be coming. Exactly.
Oh, I love it. I was not expecting that, but I love it. This is what I mean by, like, you are just, Cillah this is what you see is what you get, right?
It is, yes. It is. It takes too much to be anything else. And my mom always said you need to not say everything that you think.
Yeah.
And there's definitely some practice of refrain and making sure that I'm still politically proper. But everybody wants to feel love and be loved. And but this is really a season. There's no way I can survive COVID and everything that's going on and create and transform while also putting that energy into another human being. My kids are enough for now. So what keeps me at night is thinking, okay, when I'm an empty nester, what's going to happen? Maybe I should start paying attention to that side a little more.
Yeah, awesome. What's next?
What's next for me is I'm definitely open. Okay. Like I've said, we're going through quite a bit of pivots with Gazelle. It's a stronghold. The thing that connects everything, it sounds very much like we have a lot of different things going on, but what connects everything is it's all media.
Right.
So it's all under the Gazelle media brand. And you will notice even Vogue, Glamour, all those publications, they are now holding live podcasts, live events. It's an evolution. You can't just be a publication anymore. So in future, we are just wanting to tap into this new Instagram customer and produce what they're excited about. So print is not viable without digital. Digital is not viable without social. Social is really, we've learned that being an influencer only works when businesses are also open. So we just want to make sure we continue to evolve with the changing world. The world is changing. Who we were 7 years ago is not who we are now. And it's definitely not who we are going to be in the future.
Right.
So in the midst of COVID, I am reluctant to say what's next because I'm just trying to survive this moment.
I get it.
The truth.
And I totally get it. And in that vein, we wrap up our time together, allowing our guests to have words of encouragement, words of inspiration, or a lesson learned in the nick of time, something to help somebody like right when they needed to hear that. There are leaders listening around the world. What one thing would you tell them to encourage them to stay motivated and on track for success?
You definitely need that one person that you can be vulnerable with.
Okay.
We carry so much inside that we may not see a solution to a problem because we fear that if we say to you, then we are saying we don't know how to do it. So asking for help is a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness.
Wow.
To be able to say, you know what, I'm struggling personally as a leader. I need help to snap out of all these feelings I'm having, and saying it to the right person. You know who the right people are in your life. And also in business, being able to tap into a mentor and say, I am struggling with overcoming this. Just ask for help. It's not an ego crash. They won't judge you. And if they do, it really doesn't matter. Do what you have to do to get the help you need to continue going. No man is an island. And so I asked for help. And I do say, I'm not having a good day. I'm feeling weak. I'm judging myself as a leader. I don't know if I can do this anymore. And I say to the person who I know will tell me, oh my God, girl, look at everything you've created. No, what are you saying? And I can wake up and be like, oh my God, I did create all that stuff. What the hell am I doubting myself for? I can get through this. You need inspiration. So somebody to remind you who you really are. Okay. That has been helpful for me.
Okay. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for this moment. Website where individuals can learn more about you and the brand. You can share that with us.
Absolutely. So if you'd like to learn about me as a person, you can go to cillah.com, CILLAH.com. And our magazine is gazellemagazine.com. You can get fashion, beauty, lifestyle, health, inspiration, leadership, all those stories on there on a global perspective, something that you can relate to no matter where you are. So visit us in those two places. And of course, they link to other pages where you can find great content about Gazelle Media.
Thank you so much. And we'll be sure to post both of those websites on the postings after this show has aired. Cillah, thank you so much for making time. And I am just in awe of your greatness. I am terribly, in the greatest way, motivated to move forward just by hearing your story. Do know that this platform is a platform for you and anything that you and the Gazelle family may have coming up in the days to come. We are here to support and to advocate and champion and stand with you. So do not hesitate to reach out. I am just so excited about what's to come, and we'll be following you. I'm a fan.
Thank you.
I'm a fan.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I want to thank all of our listeners also for tuning in and giving us your ear and your heart one more time. Thank you for joining us for this conversation in the nick of time. I'm your host, Nikki Roach. You know, you can find us at nikkiroach.com, even if you're wanting to be a guest. Don't forget, in the meantime, you already have everything you need to be successful. Just take the time to tap into it. And that's success as you define it, not as the world. And go and be great in all that you do. In the meantime, be